Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that could really go for one of those madcap, spur-of-the-moment lube jobs right about now.
I sure could.
Welcome back, Britt. How are you? You're very close to the screen today.
Oh, sorry. Should I be further away?
I mean, you leaned in right at the beginning, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to do this.
I usually lean in when I'm making a very emphatic point, and I also point at you a lot. No, I'm okay. As I said to you earlier before we started the podcast, I am doing my best physical Mrs. Garrett impression today because I put my hair up in this insane bun because it's like 100 degrees here, and I just can't. I can't. So I'm okay. I have the fan on a little bit, so I hope that's not bothering you or our listeners. And also, if my face is bothering you, listeners, just go to the listening podcast. Don't look at me. Just don't look.
Audio podcast, also known as the listening podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got for us today a doozy.
Yeah.
Of an episode.
A particularly relevant doozy.
Yeah, a real gem. A nice, we're starting off season 4. Let's do an abortion episode real quick. Episode 2 in season 4. Let's just get that out of the way.
So, but here's the thing. As usually happens with this show, it's like a fucking bait and switch every time. This isn't an abortion episode. It's not. It's sort of. It's literally an abortion
of an episode.
It is an abortion of an episode. But it literally is exactly what it's criticizing, which is sensationalist journalism. Right? So Natalie has decided to publish a piece in the Eastlander that is about how abortion exists, and she makes up a phony person using the statistics that she gets from doctors, clinics, etc. And that's, I guess, fudging it a little bit too much. But
Louise is a composite.
Yeah, but that's what this episode ends up being about. The fact that she lied doing her journalism job, which is what this episode is. It's like, we're going to do a very special episode about how important abortion is, but it's actually about not lying when you write a story for your school newspaper.
All right. Well, we've got plenty to get into.
Yeah.
But let's just start by saying the obvious. This episode, The Source, is directed by Azad Khalada. It was written by Peter Noah, who wrote the brilliant New York episode last season that brought us the phrase "turn blue," which I still love.
Wait, that was the one with Blair and Joe learning about their facsimiles, like what you would turn out like if you stayed where you were rather than going to
exactly. And we got to watch Blair make tuna salad with a giant wooden spoon.
Yeah, that's how I make tuna salad. That's how I make it, because I like to make an industrial amount.
So do you do the thing where you pour the big blob of mayonnaise out?
Oh yeah. Here's the thing: my husband's birthday is tomorrow. And he loves
to blop some mayonnaise all over him.
Yeah, no, especially that's my the lube job that I'm having, the last minute lube job. So he likes a very specific mayonnaise because he's a fancy baby. What?
Kewpie?
No, Duke's.
Okay.
Anyway, I got him 2 enormous jars of that for his birthday. That's it. Nothing else.
The romance is alive at your house, and I like that. And
that's the vibe.
I would, we haven't done this in a while. Shout out to Duke's. Duke's, we would love a sponsor. Shouldn't we try to get these podcasts sponsored at some point?
I guess. I mean, is that how this works?
Call Duke's. Seriously, why not?
I mean, here's the thing. He loves it. I mean, it's like the best. And the other funny thing is that, I got it for him, as a kind of like an early present, like a month ago, to be like, oh, I do listen to you, husband. I listen to what you like. And I managed to buy him the world's tiniest bottle of mayonnaise. It was like 3 inches tall. It was so small. And he was like, oh, thank you for this sample size. And then, of course, I was like, oh shit, it's your actual birthday. I guess I should get you 2 enormous jugs of this. So yeah, I can do the plop into the tuna salad.
Well, good. And I hope you do. And I genuinely hope you call Dukes and be like, hey, we got a podcast. We need
also
a sponsor.
just send us free merch. You know, all the sauces, all the mayos. We're a Duke's household.
Well, there you go. Maybe you can get it in product, and I'll take the cash and put it into I don't know, not using a lamp as my lighting for the podcast or something like that. All right. So our episode was written by Peter Noah. As I said, he got his start on that big dice game show, the New High Rollers, that had like the world's biggest dice that were really just like fistfuls.
But so that's the thing. I was like, how big are these dice?
Yeah, they weren't big at all.
Were they tiny? Were they like little dice, or were they like car hangy dice?
They were like a little bit bigger than car hangy dice, but
so
like
dice dice you couldn't sit on.
I wouldn't sit on these dice. No, I feel like they're a one-hander. Like if I want to see really big dice, 2 hands to pick that shit up. That's what I want.
Right.
In my big dice show.
So we want to have some sort of like, you know, a little bit one of those sadistic, usually Japanese game shows where it's like, you know, you have to get into like a very specific shape to get through before you get pushed into water. And do you feel
when do you do the Madonna Vogue dance? When does that come into play?
Later during the intermission of this episode. All right,
because you just performed it, so I assumed it was like right
before.
No,
but you've seen those, right? Those.
Yes.
So do you feel as though the producers of those game shows in Japan, do they have the big dice?
I honestly feel like if I went to the supermarket, I could get bigger dice. Like I just feel like just Google Amazon novelty dice, super big. They'd be bigger. Anyway, this show is not about the New High Rollers.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down because I do have Amazon Prime, so maybe before tomorrow I could get super giant novelty dice for my husband's birthday.
He'd love that. So yeah, this was his first sitcom. He went on to write for One Day at a Time, not the new one, but my cat has brought its toy that wants me to play. I'll try to not do that throughout the podcast.
That's okay.
He also wrote on Alice, Amen. He created Dear John. He created Anything But Love, Cafe American. He wrote on Dweebs and a few more before transitioning into dramas, which is where he works today. He's still working, Peter Noah. He wrote 5 West Wings, 4 episodes of The Firm, Kingdom, The Blacklist, Designated Survivor, and most recently, The Good Doctor. But it all started in 1982 with the phrase, turn blue.
So The Good Doctor is like that wonderful show where it was just this guy who was like, you know what? We should just get rid of the waiting room and turn it into a Whole Foods because the waiting room is depressing and people want to eat organic food while they're waiting for their loved one to come out of surgery.
So I haven't seen the show. It's not necessarily my speed, but if that's what it's about, I guess I would watch it. I know I saw the commercials where like the board of medical directors were like, this is outrageous. And I didn't know it was because they put a Whole Foods in the hospital. So
no, it wasn't a Whole Foods. It was literally like a farmer's market. It was like,
I get you, girl.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. So we open. Shocker.
Where?
I don't know. There's so many options of where we could open. Is it the cafeteria?
It is. And we open on Tootie, who is decoupaging?
Why not? I think she's cutting out.
Paper mache?
I think she's fangirling.
Okay, yeah.
Because we talk about how Tootie gets a bunch of fan magazines, which Blair chastises her for. So maybe she's like scrapbooking them or, something like that.
Yeah, because so Tootie's she's cutting her heartthrobs out, Jermaine Jackson and whatever, right?
Also, did you notice that trophy case right behind them? Like, I feel like that was the first time I ever saw that trophy case.
I've never seen the trophy case. And also, why would there be a trophy case in this episode? There's nothing to do with sports at all. And we haven't seen a sporting episode.
Team. They talk about the bowling team.
Only the bowling team. Anyway,
Don't you think this all-girls school with this bowling team is probably racking up the trophies because there are no other all-girls bowling teams happening? So they just, number one,
fair
they
enough.
just show up, they get the trophy. They don't even bowl. It's a racket.
But then what is Natalie doing writing all of these exposés about the bowling team?
That's what she's writing about. This whole scam to just get all these trophies without even having to roll a goddamn ball.
So that's the expose? That's the
I'm
expose.
assuming. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I lined my hamster cage with them like Joe.
Exactly, because Natalie's such a hard-hitting, gumshoe journalist that she's exposing the fact that, the bowling team is a giant sham operation.
She's going to expose some corruption in her days here. We're in season 4. There are only 5 more seasons left. She's got plenty of corruption that she's going to expose.
I'm sorry. I'm going to pause you right there. You just said there's only 5 more seasons left.
Well, 6 if you count this one. That we're just at the beginning of.
My heart just sank. I actually think my heart just evaporated into a puff of dust, where it was like
that could be the heat in your apartment.
Yeah, there's 5 more seasons of 26 of these, and plus another fucking movie.
The other movie's better than the first movie.
Well, but
they're
still
both bad.
Yeah,
but Australia is fun bad, and Paris is just terrible.
Anyway, so in comes Mrs. Garrett, right, while Tootie's scrapbooking, and she goes, "Mail call, girls." Which, again, here's the thing. I also think that, now I'm going to become more of a sleuth, because as soon as someone says
I think it's
one
pronounced
thing,
slut. I think the H is silent.
Sleuth.
Okay.
Is that as soon as whoever starts the episode says one thing, that's actually what the episode is about. When someone else says something else, to undermine that's more interesting, that's not what the episode is about. So this one is about
mail call girls?
No, this is about Mrs. Garrett giving away, bringing the mail in and giving Tootie her fan girl, how can you read those? Blair says, "Tootie, how can you read those? They're full of rumor and gossip and innuendo," right?
Yes.
So she gets her teen
Blair
bop.
Gets People.
And no, Blair gets People, Celebrity, and Us magazine.
What a hypocrite.
What a hypocrite, right? So this is about the fact that, as soon as the groundwork has been laid that this is about, a foundation that journalism is too salacious. It's either fan bullshit or gossip or innuendo, whatever. And then in comes Natalie being like, "I'm going to write this very important story about abortion at Eastland." And it actually doesn't turn out to be a story about abortion. The episode doesn't turn out to be about abortion at Eastland. It turns out to be about the fact that
My cat got excited.
Natalie lied during her story. So it's about journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
Which we already had that fucking episode last season when Joe outed the editor-in-chief of the fucking, Eastland as being a cokehead.
Well, yes, because they are trying to set up one of our girls as being a journalist. They're not trying to set up one of our girls as being an abortionist. So why focus
Mrs. Garrett
on that?
seems like an abortionist at this point.
Yes. So Joe gives Blair one of those classic "I want to eat you out" looks that also says I'll never respect you.
I wrote down silent disapproval, not "I want to eat your pussy."
I feel like that's what gets Joe off, is disapproving of Blair.
Fair. Yeah.
But anyway, Blair gets defensive and explains that she gets the magazines for the recipes because Blair cooks, according to Peter Noah, because we saw her make tuna salad in his last episode.
Exactly. So that's continuity. That's continuity, according to Peter Noah.
And then Natalie walks in finally, pissed off because she's worked really hard and now she's on the 747 of life because nobody will tell her about their abortions.
No, she's on a standby ticket on the 747 of life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Too
This
fast.
and here's the thing. This is a Natalie episode, which means that it's the most annoying possible. Like, she's whiny, she's condescending, she's, attention seeking, she's disingenuous, dishonest. Once she gets pushed into a corner, she actually makes the right decision. But before all that, she was like willing to throw the teenage girl who had an abortion under the bus to save her skin so that she doesn't have to go home.
Well, jump ahead, why don't you? Let's get into this. So, anyway, Natalie's trying to write an important article, but Blair really liked her in-depth look at the bowling team. Natalie should stick with that. Tootie made some kind of joke about how Peekskill got its name.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just stop you right there. So I have two things to say about this. First of all, as we talked about at length already, about the bowling team at Eastland, bowling strikes me as a very expensive sport to have on a, high school campus. Because
A, this is an expensive school. Blair Warner goes there. B, they could all just go to like the local bowlerama. Like the school could be like, Thursday mornings we have bowling here and we rent it out for a pretty cheap price. So I thought
fair enough. Okay. But still, I do think though that it's just for the lulz of imagining how boring bowling is and having teenage girls do this boring sport. It's sort of like thinking of teenage girls doing darts.
Yeah, no, I don't think that this was a high point in the episode. I didn't think it deserved the callback it got. I was confused. I didn't think it deserved all of the trophies in the cabinet that they've, magically acquired. And yeah, do you want to know how Peekskill got its name?
Yeah. Do you?
Do you have it?
I have it.
I have it as well. Jan Peek.
Yeah. Jan Peek in the early 1600s. He was Peekskill's earliest European resident, and he was recognized as making first contact with the Lenape Native American people who lived there. So obviously, he named their village after himself.
Yes, and the kill part means river. And
yes, it means stream in Dutch.
Did you know that Jan Peek opened an inn in Peekskill?
I didn't.
He did. And that inn ended up becoming overwrought with prisoners, rapists, and general ne'er-do-wells.
Well, that's actually known as the Bates Academy now.
Bingo. So Joe piles on.
But hold on, let me just say a couple other things that I know about Peekskill, which are important. First of all, crayons were created there. We all love crayons. Who doesn't love crayons? Crayola was created there. Also, during the time of the American Revolution, George Washington established the area as the headquarters of the Continental Army. But also, most importantly, Peekskill is where New York Governor George Pataki was raised, as well as Stanley Tucci and Pee Wee Herman himself, Paul Rubens.
Tucci and Pataki, that's crazy.
But I will say this, and this is because we're doing this in Shocktober, and my husband and I have been doing very well at watching scary movies every single night of October. And we watched the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer last night, the 1992 one, with Kirsty Swanson, Paul Rubens, Luke Perry, blah, 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 and Donald Sutherland. It's still really good.
It's very good. It's nowhere near the show.
Obviously.
But it's very good.
Obviously, but Joss Whedon wrote it basically as a proof of concept and got it made so that he could make like nine seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for, the CW.
It's a wonderful film and a wonderful series that was spun off it. My cat is just absolutely bonkers today, so you're gonna get a couple of mouse tosses in this podcast. I apologize. So Joe piles on. Apparently in biology class, they have hamsters shit on Natalie's writing.
Yeah.
Everybody's just making sure that Natalie feels like shit for the rest of the episode because it's a Natalie episode. And so when it's a Natalie episode, make her feel like shit.
Yeah, so that she gets super defensive and weird.
Yes. Nat had a hot story that she was working on. Everybody wants to know what it is. Is it about cheating?
No, too old
Is it
fashioned.
about drugs?
Too cliche.
How about VD?
Blair.
Valentine's Day.
Day.
Yeah, we get a huge applause break.
Oh my God. And I literally wrote down it gets applause, and I wrote down next to it, barf in tiny little letters.
Well, I'll tell you, okay, two things about this. One, that joke has always stuck with me, like my whole life. Like I've remembered it whenever anybody said VD, which is so rare. I have always thought of Blair going Valentine's Day. But beyond that, something's wrong with this audience. They are quick to applaud.
Yeah.
And not only are they quick to applaud, but at the end, there's a smattering of snickers and laughter.
Yeah.
Really when it shouldn't be there. But anyway, so Natalie admits her article is about abortion.
Yeah.
Which shockingly only took us 20 minutes to get up to that part. It's an important issue that deserves attention. That it's exploitative, and Mrs. Garrett worries that she's just doing this to boost circulation. It's kind of funny to think that Natalie's concerned with boosting the circulation of the school paper, like people pay for that shit. They're there.
Exactly. So school newspapers are free, A. And so basically this is making a point about like salacious news stories about abortions and unplanned pregnancies and whatever, as though that would trickle into a children's newspaper in a, middle school or whatever. It's such a broad, weird take on this, because it's like we're going to do a very special episode about abortion, but it's not going to be about abortion. It's going to be about journalistic ethics so that we can sneak it in. Because, in 1972...
that is the main theme, but they do tackle it. To be fair, Louise is real. And the main thing that they're trying to say is that this shit, I don't know if it's the main thing, but the message they're trying to sneak through the network is this shit's happening in front of your eyes and you could be blind to it.
Yeah. But
that's the message that I take away at the very end of the episode.
So the very famous Maude episode, her abortion episode, aired in 1972. Roe v. Wade was passed in 1973. Hopefully it won't be repealed by our horrible next justice of the Supreme Court. Fingers crossed, she does not get confirmed.
Ahead of ourselves. We're filming this ahead of time, and something could happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But I do have to say that, here's the thing, is that it's like, if you're going to make an episode about abortion, make it about abortion. Don't make it about...
It's 82 on a kids show. I think that this is probably the best they get. Let me just say, this morning, I recently sold a show about my coming out. Brag, brag, brag.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we had our first network notes. It's not going to series yet, so just.
And did they say more abortion? Can you just add more abortion into this?
They asked to remove all the sex from the pilot.
Okay.
And there's no sex in the pilot. There's such a hint of like one future has a naughty word in it, condom.
Oh.
Yes.
So naughty.
And so there are. It's 2020, and we're trying to get away with that. So I do give them credit for where they ended this episode, as opposed to ending it where, oh no, abortion's just a hoax. Nobody has them.
Sure.
Natalie's just a bad person for trying to shed light on the subject by using a fake Louise. So I still do give them credit, but also Nat wants to stir things up. She wants to make waves, and I've got to respect that. But Mrs. Garrett apparently cannot get enough of Nat's informative and snappy bowling articles.
That's
How
true.
many bowling articles has she written?
A lot. Too many. I actually really like bowling. You and I have gone bowling together.
I love bowling. I'm terrible.
You're not a good bowler.
No.
And the funniest thing is that you and I went bowling with my now husband and my friend Aaron, and I was there bowling with 3 men at the local bowling alley in Los Angeles. It's very close to us. That is, I would say ramshackle at best, but very pleasantly ramshackle. I hope they're doing okay during COVID. But in any case, you said to me, so I was bowling against 3 men. You don't give a shit. My husband's pretty competitive, and my friend Aaron grew up in Ohio, where there's like nothing better to do than bowl in the middle of the winter. So he's very good. And so I was sort of like, I get a little competitive. So I was trying to do really well. But I'm also like, I bowl the way I bowl. And you said to me, you were like, God, Britt, you're a very silent bowler. Which I always took as a compliment. That's actually in my Twitter bio.
Well, I'm honored. You're also a very silent farter because I've never heard you fart.
I mean, I never fart. It just comes right out as a burp. That's also silent.
Impressive. Yes. Anyway, these bowling articles, and I'm sure this bowling conversation bowls Mrs. Garrett over. It's such a bad joke that she actually apologizes for it. The apology is kind of cute.
Yeah.
I'll give her that. Nat explains that no one had an abortion, and that makes her sad. So then Mrs. Garrett understands, but that it suggests an article about her and how she makes poor kids unpack trucks full of groceries.
She's like, "What? Like, here's a good pitch. What will you accept my pitch? You should do a profile on me, the resident nutritionist who uses, underage girls for unpaid labor."
Yeah,
that's a good expose. Honestly, like Natalie should follow that to this. Like, she should do hardcore research onto that.
I honestly agree. I think you'll see when Mrs. Garrett leaves the show. It may be in handcuffs.
Ooh. Yeah. I got so excited. Because I was sort of like, well, maybe she is the resident abortionist.
When Mrs. Garrett leaves the show, a Winnebago tips off a cliff with all the girls in it. Does that help?
Oh, okay. So it's sort of like Van Nuys Boulevard. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I mean, the girls survive. They don't. It's just they get out and the Winnebago falls. It's very tense. As a child, I remember being like,
"Oh, okay."
Just thinking about it now tenses up my butthole.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so then Mrs. Garrett takes Blair and Joe to go unpack groceries from a truck, just like the article she wants written about her. What a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah. No, and she's like, why don't you write a story about a local diet nutritionist who has her students unload groceries off of a truck? And Joe just is sort of like, again, a bad choice. It's like, Joe's not the resident comic here. She shouldn't be doing
How big a truck?
How big a truck? Here? And then Mrs. Garrett's like, come and see. What's happening here? Why didn't this could have just been cut? It should have just been.
They had to get them to leave.
Yeah.
And I think they were so tired of coming up with creative and short ways to have them leave that they're just like, let's just take a long walk with this one. We got to stretch. We don't have much going on. And that is kind of the theme early this season of Facts of Life. There's not much story going on. But so alone, Trudy tries to make Natalie feel better by saying Lois Lane has her days like this, but at least she gets to fuck Superman, so Nat doesn't think it's a fair comparison.
Yeah, fair enough.
Nat called every abortion clinic within 30 miles, but for some reason, they just wouldn't give out the names of all the women who had abortions. So weird.
Yeah, because of HIPAA, normal sort of, legal reasons that you can't give away medical information to strangers about people.
It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, she got some dry statistics and cauliflower ear. First of all, it's not how you get it, and second of all, gross.
I know, because here's the thing. Like when I was like, when I watched this, I was like, cauliflower ear. So I guess it's like she's been on the horn for a long time. Like she's got
and
a
she's
super
like bashing it into her. Like, you won't tell me about abortions? God damn it! Just banging the phone into her head angrily.
Because the only way you get cauliflower ear is like actually through, you know, true ear trauma. Like if you're like a rugby player, you get the cartilage pulled off of like out of your ear.
Sure, or a
and
boxer, you get it smashed in flames.
So I don't understand what kind of phone calls Natalie's making.
Harsh ones. Anyway, they're not like Joe's harsh Geraldo call later, but we'll get into that anyway. Nat says you can't do a story on numbers. You need a personal POV, and Tootie's like, "What the fuck is that?" Apparently,
she's like, "Oh no, POV. Oh, that's reporter talk."
Yeah, and then Tootie's like, "Oh, let me drop some Tootie talk. PIA, person it's about." No shit, Tootie. It's just what Natalie said. He's just so Tootie about everything.
But it's also so stupid. Like, you know, Natalie could have just been like, okay, yeah, we just said the exact same thing. Yeah. Literally the exact same thing. But I'm the reporter.
Anyway, Tootie says what Natalie needs is a Louise. And Nat foams at the mouth.
Oh my God.
Tootie explains that Louise is her imaginary friend that she used as a scapegoat as a little sociopathic child. I had imaginary friends.
Yeah, I know. You told me about this. Who were they again?
Well, I had Chata, Colin, Sequin.
Sequin. Yes, I remember
Night
Sequin.
Shifter. And that might have been it. Anyway, we were all in a band. It was called Brace. They all came out of different parts of the house. Like one came out of the bathtub, one under the bed, one in the closet. And Chata was like always with me. I guess I may have used them as a scapegoat like once or twice, but it wasn't like a recurring theme. Like I was aware they were invisible. I was just also very lonely.
Well, I'm an only child and I didn't have any, which I don't know if that's a sign that I'm well-adjusted or maladjusted.
I had 5 sisters, and so I think I got to see them all having their friends and being older and doing different things. And so I was like, I want friends. I'll just make them. Whereas you probably were like, I'm going to practice my clarinet.
I didn't play the clarinet. Actually, I did play the clarinet for like a hot minute. I played the violin for quite a while.
You look like a one and done clarinetter if I ever saw it.
I played the flute for a while. I gave up on the clarinet. I gave up on the clarinet because I didn't really like doing this. I was in multiple children's choruses. I was more of an actor / singer, if you might imagine, more of a Selena Gomez, type gal.
I often say you're the Selena Gomez of this podcast.
Yes.
Who am I of the podcast?
George Clooney.
Hey, that's good because he's going to be joining our show in a couple of years.
Bang, bang.
And it's not just like, oh, there goes George Clooney for a second.
No, he's on it for like 5 years or something. 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes, it's really, yeah. There's 3 years of appearances, but one of those years they were like, we're really not going to use him much.
Because it's sort of like, yeah, that gross guy, ugh, he's so lame and pathetic. We can't have him on screen. Ew.
It was weird. Like, he had sexual chemistry with everybody when he started. Like, the first 3 or 4 episodes of George Clooney, it's like, is he going to fuck Tootie and Natalie and Joe and Blair and Mrs. Garrett?
I mean,
at the same time? So. Like, I think they would have all been down for it to happen at the same time. No fucks given. But after a while, he became almost sexless. Like, he started looking just like Joe. And they...
With the haircut?
Yeah, they got the same haircut. They wore the same clothes. They had the same attitude. They would often be like, he would always be hanging out with like a 10-year-old boy who was not his. It was just like, we're buddies now, even though there's a 20-year age gap between us. Whatever Mackenzie asked him, let's do this.
Okay.
So that'll get weird. But at the beginning, it really looked like he was going to fuck everybody. And I was ready for it. Anyway, that is our segment on imaginary friends. As Tootie speculates whatever happened to her imaginary friend, Natalie gets one of Blair's brilliant ideas. She's going to make Louise have an abortion. 40 hours of research to create the perfect Louise crisis.
No, and the other thing is that so basically, which is such a weird, sort of way to involve Tootie in all of this, because I feel like if Natalie is a good enough writer, she probably could have come up with the idea of making a composite on her own. But the only reason why Tootie is involved in this is that Natalie gets the idea of making a composite, being like, oh, I'll make Louise have the abortion. And then Tootie's like, you're what?
Yeah, not my
Louise. Absolutely not.
So if she was just like, I'm going to name her Phyllis, then Tootie would have been like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But no. Also, 40 hours of research. You've done 40 hours of research, and before you found a single person that had an abortion, I feel like the 40 hours of research should come after you have at least some kind of tantalizing lead.
I don't know. I'm not a journalist, so I don't know. I feel like a lot of the legwork for journalism is mostly like at the beginning of trying to like figure out a lead and so doing a lot of research, and then I think it's like finding the story, following it, and then doing all the background information so that you have it corroborated and blah blah blah.
All right.
Not the journalism explain.
That's fine by me. So Tootie is outraged that Natalie would besmirch the reputation of Tootie's only true friend, because nobody else actually likes her except Louise. And Nat says it happens all the time, and I bet it does. Tootie says it is fine as long as she explains the story is made up, but Nat doesn't want to do that. It's got all these facts. She's
like, da, 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 da. She's like, da, da, da. No. Truth in journalism, that's fake news. That's bullshit. We don't do that. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Not into it. Not into it at all.
It happens all the time.
So, like, she's got all these facts. She can't waste the facts. Tootie asks what's important, the story or the number of papers she sells. The writers do not understand how school newspapers work at all.
No, they don't.
Not at all. They're all going to be printed. The same amount, no matter what, is going to be printed. They will all be in stacks. They will be grabbed. They will be recycled. I guess it's 82. They won't be. They'll just be thrown out. Or
no, they're going to be used. They're going to be used for Joe's hamsters to shit on.
Mm-hmm. Because they have no time to shit on Natalie herself. So
yeah.
Anyway, Natalie forces Tootie to accept the fact that she's the journalist. She knows what she's doing, and that Tootie better back the fuck off before she tries to change Louise's name to Tootie. Boom, mic drop, end of scene.
Yeah.
And now it's the future, because even though we're still in the cafeteria, Natalie's article is written, and a girl, apparently named Jenny, according to IMDb, says she's never read anything more moving.
Wait, let's just set the scene. So
please,
Natalie,
I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee while you set the scene.
Natalie enters upstage through the door, being swarmed by extras that we've never seen before. People who are like one random blonde person, that one black girl who wants to like be Tootie's best friend, other people, and like
I don't think that girl likes Tootie. Can we just for 1 second? I really don't think that Terry is her name.
Oh, Terry, yes.
Yes. I don't think Terry likes Tootie at all.
Well, no. So what I mean is that it's sort of like fetch. It's like stop trying to make trying to make Terry happen.
I agree with that. Stop trying to make Terry happen. But there's a subtlety of how Terry is like, if I can get something out of Tootie, I'll talk to her. But otherwise, fuck off.
Yeah.
Can you get me in the movie?
Absolutely. Anyway, so Natalie enters swarmed with people. Presumably this is like, a week later after she's written her shitty article and it's gone to print, and everyone is now just absolutely agog at her amazing, investigative journalism and her skills at getting, someone to talk on the record and getting the story right and telling everyone all these facts that apparently everyone basically already knew, but like in a really compelling way.
Jenny says she's never read anything more moving, and she hasn't been this touched since she went to see Bambi with the Bates football team.
Well,
they touched her.
Well, no, but the other thing about that is that it's sort of like that's about a dead mom, not about a dead baby. So,
well, that's why it was more touching.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jenny. She is played by Dawn Gregg. Do you know who Dawn Gregg is, Britt?
No.
Dawn Gregg is the get ready to hold that jaw up. Also, maybe you lean back a little bit so we can see that jaw. Oh, perfect. Dawn Gregg is Ricky Schroeder's sister.
Oh.
Yes.
That's not what I expected, nor am excited about. I thought you were going to say Dawn Gregg is, Beyonce.
No, that would be shocking. I agree with that. She will appear on 2 lives. One later. This is the plural facts of lives because I've said it before, but I think it's facts of lives.
No.
She will be on 2 more facts of lives. One later this season called Who's on First, where Tootie's a real ass. And then she'll show up later on in the series, episode Gone with the Wind Part 1, where she'll play a completely different girl, this time named Dawn. Curiously, those 2 episodes are written by Kimberly Hill, who one may assume is friends with Dawn Schroeder. After this, she'll go on to do a Silver Spoons, where she plays Pretty Girl. Your brother is in the show Silver Spoons. You get a guest role, and the best that they could give you is
They
Pretty
couldn't
Girl.
give you a name?
Yeah,
they couldn't give you a fucking name?
Girl.
Pretty Girl number 1, Pretty Girl number 2. Yeah.
She also starred in Jennifer Slept Here, which is a sitcom about a family that lives with a celebrity ghost, which I really enjoy. She did a Different Strokes.
Since it's Shocktober.
She did a Different Strokes, and honestly, who hasn't? Who's ever guest starred on this? She did a Double Trouble. She basically disappeared after that, but recently she wrote and directed a few shorts where she plays an unnamed mother.
Remnant, are they all called Unnamed Mother?
They're called Remnant from 2012, where she plays mother. Audience of One from 2014, where she plays mother. And then in 2017, in That Motherfucker, she plays mother.
Wow.
It was a long con so she could get laid.
In none of these shorts, she had an abortion at all.
I don't know that.
Well, because she plays a mother.
Mothers can have abortions.
True, but I meant more like sort of,
I gotcha.
The storyline.
So Joe and Blair are very impressed with the article as well. Yes. Terry has returned. This is her penultimate appearance. So you only got one more time to try to make Terry happen. Fetch. Not going to happen, Terry. Terry wants to know if she can star in the film version. That's going to have her people call her people and gives applause again.
Yeah. And I have to say that this episode truly, for being about something that is a crucial part of reproductive health and
journalistic integrity.
Journalistic integrity, yes, that's part of my reproductive health. No, but the fact that it's about abortion and, safe abortion, which is it's safe, and rare, is that, this episode is as I said before, it's sort of like a bait and switch, like you're getting like a kind of like a little bit of an abortion is okay message because it happens, it happens to teenage girls. It is legal, but mostly it's about Natalie fucking preening the whole goddamn time.
Yeah.
So it makes it like a laughing stock, like the fact that this is the thing that it's like this is the sugar that makes the medicine go down, watching Natalie be a piece of shit for 30 minutes. Where it's like, oh, actually now I'm convinced. Yeah, I guess, abortion should be safe, legal, and,
Well, don't get too worked up. We've got plenty of podcasts left to go. So Blair can't believe that one of them got the big A.
Yeah, and then again, for the rest of the episode, Blair is at her worst because she's like, okay, Natalie, just fucking tell me which fucking slut around here did it. I need to know. I need to know. And if you fucking tell me, I will get you out of trouble. I will get you out of trouble. I will get you out of trouble because I'm going to leak the information to the headmaster. And then that's it. It'll be done. But I need to know. I need to know which slut got knocked up and had to have an abobo.
An abobo. Yes. Terry can't believe Louise opened up like that. And Nat lies about how experienced journalists have their little tricks, like lying. Tootie is going to punch her in the face. Tootie is so mad about this.
Yeah.
And just like, stay out of it. This does not need to be your drama, Tootie. I know you're a busybody, but like, come on, just let her flame out on her own. Anyway, Joe asked Tootie what she thought of the article, which I thought was a very forced question. Tootie says it's very authentic, particularly I like the statistics.
Those are always my favorite parts of any article.
Yeah, and Blair's like, really funny. That's funny. I liked the personal story best. Shocker. Tootie's head's going to explode. And Blair desperately tries to get Natalie to say who it is, but Natalie is keeping numb. Nom. It's a violation of her journalistic ethics. Joe explains that Nat might have to go to jail to keep this secret. Blair is relentless. She just needs a name.
Yeah.
Joe thinks it should be entered into a high school journalism contest, like the forged poem that Blair wrote in season 1, because this is a recurring theme.
Wait. Which journalism contest? That journalism contest that they run.
That's right. Really specific.
Very specific. And the great thing is that, is that this brings out all of Natalie's vanity. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Should I? And she puts on her worst baby voice. And Joe's like, you know what? Journalism is a tough racket. You think that, Barbara Walters likes being pushy? Which, again, lol, yeah, she's a bitch in journalism. That's how she gets her job done.
And she does like it.
Yeah, she does. Of course she does.
Who wouldn't I just made Salman Rushdie cry. I'm going to go home and finger myself to that because I am proud of myself. Yeah.
So also, one small fact that I want to bring up about Barbara Walters is that she was married to Merv Adelson twice, who co-founded Lorimar Television. Ooh, we do love Lorimar on this podcast.
Probably why she married him a second time.
Yeah. I mean,
can you get me out of this world swag?
Exactly. Like that weird crystal box that
I don't know if that's Lorimar, but I hope it is for the sake of the joke.
Wait, also the voice of the dad in Out of This World is Burt Reynolds, right?
I believe so, yes.
So totally a tangent. Have you ever seen the movie Best Friends?
No.
So this was a movie that was written by Barry Levinson and his wife. They were, I guess, co-screenwriters. It stars Burt Reynolds and Goldie Hawn as screenwriting, like a screenwriting pair. And basically, we watched it this weekend. It's a total delight. It's basically like they elope without telling anyone. And then they have to meet one another's bad families and then be like, oh, God, did I do a wrong thing by...
I love Burt Reynolds comedies, especially around that era. He made some really weird choices, and they're very pleasant.
It's so good. It's like $2.99 on Amazon. It's so wonderful. And we also watched Smokey and the Bandit. It's like Burt Reynolds looks at women like he wants to just jizz all over their face, and they look at him as though it's like, I want that too. He's so wonderful. He's so good in all of these. And he just has that mustache, and he's always chewing gum, but he's just a delight. Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to go off on a Burt Reynolds like.
That's quite all right.
That's also my other podcast, the Burt Reynolds Hour.
I will tune in for your cop and a half episode. So Joe, who seems to know a lot about this journalism contest.
You mean that journalism contest that they run?
Yes, she starts rattling off the prizes: an electric typewriter, a dictionary with thumb tabs, or an internship as a cub reporter. Maybe lead with that one.
Yeah, but also my favorite thing is that it's like, is a dictionary that, is it a notoriously difficult thing to operate? Do you really need those thumb tabs, or can you just flip through it?
I grew up with a giant dictionary that had thumb tabs in it, and it was incredibly helpful.
You can't go back to a non-thumb tab.
I have appreciated it ever since. It's really nice. It has like a curve in the pages that allows you to stick your thumb in there and just go right to the letter P. That's where all my favorite words are.
How yes, of course. How, like, plant and
patronizing,
penis.
Pervert,
pen,
popcorn. Anyway,
peanut.
Peanut, yeah. Most of the ingredients to crunch and munch. Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett walks in furious because last week's plot is happening all over again. Mr. Parker has some shitty news that he's got to force Mrs. Garrett to break to the girls, just like Joe's scholarship, except this time Natalie's getting shit on, and he wants Mrs. Garrett to do it. Apparently, he asked Mrs. Garrett to tell Natalie that there is a problem.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Garrett can barely get that out because she's too outraged. And I have indigestion from all the coffee I guzzle. So that's why I can't get it out. Anyway, she's just pissed off that this is just a do-over from last week. Like, I barely get a plot now. I get the same one 2 weeks in a row. Anyway, talking to herself, Mrs. Garrett's like, good old Edna. She'll soften the blow. And finally, Natalie's like, yo.
And then fucking, Tootie's like, Natalie's like, yo, good old Edna. Tell me what the fuck is going on, because you haven't said anything. You've just been like talking about yourself and about how annoyed you are about having to do something.
Yeah, apparently Mr. Parker demands under no uncertain terms that she has 24 hours to tell him the real name of the girl in the article, the real Louise, or she will have to leave school. That does not seem legal.
Yeah.
At all.
Nope, not legal at all.
But
however,
it was enough to get us to commercial break.
It was. Pause.
Where are you going? I got to entertain these people where you're going somewhere.
My earring fell out.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Just warn me. Pause is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to tap dance so that we don't have just like, all right, let's have silence for everybody.
So now
I could show off my tattoos. I've got lots I could do.
Yeah. So finally, we're in a new room. Where are we? We're in the lounge, right?
Ooh.
I know. Super exciting. And, here's Mr. Parker being like, there's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. That's some wet ass pussy. Tell me who the wet ass pussy is to Natalie, or I'm going to expel you.
Yeah. Also, if Mr. Parker has arrived to also say the news, why didn't Mrs. Garrett have to freak out about delivering it? It seems like it was basically continuous. Like, we lost some time in between the commercial break, so it had to be instantaneous.
Right.
Point being, she could have just been I have a secret and it's not good.
We're stretching.
We're stretching a lot. Anyway, Mrs. Garrett says, I'm sure Mr. Parker respects the right of a free press, but he says not in this case. No, he does not. Parents are calling, demanding to know. He is terrified of parents, this douche nozzle.
Well, isn't that how the finale of last season was? Wasn't it about
I thought he grew his balls. He was like, okay,
right. Wasn't it about book burning or something like that? Where
I don't think they were burning them, but they were banning them.
Yeah. Anyway, but also the weird thing is that strikes me as odd is that even though I understand that this is a boarding school and that parents would sign over a certain amount of in loco parentis or whatever about being having the school take some of the
Loco parentis, is that Spanish for crazy parents? I know language.
Yeah, it's Latin, but for being basically they have to be like the parents that are there, but like also they're not kind of like liable and whatever. But like these are like teenagers; they're not 18-year-olds. Like they're still young. But I do have to say though that these parents are sort of shitty because they're trusting this weird old man around their daughter's sexuality.
I'm going to fight you on that, and I'll tell you why. How shitty are the parents that read the fucking Eastland Gazette the day it comes out? Like, what, they must, like, pay for overnighting, and then they get it, and then they're like, all right, honey, we have to read about our daughter's school. Let's just make sure, oh, my God, abortions, call Mr. Parker instantly.
No, I'm saying that he's shitty. They're shitty. Like they're awful. They're
Who
really
don't
bad.
you think is shitty?
No, everyone's bad.
Yes, exactly. That's your perspective. I try to be the optimist. You think everyone's bad. That's our roles here on the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett tries to like focus the situation and is like, I'm sure you're concerned about this girl. And he's like, yeah, sure. She's been through a terrible experience, which I intend to extend and expand through her entire family by outing her.
Yeah.
How would that make anything better, Mr. Parker?
It would make all the other parents feel better.
Sure. I guess. Or just lie.
Yeah.
Just lie and be like, oh, yeah, no, it's Fazzola Johnson. You don't know her. She moved to Canada. Shame of the abortion.
Yeah.
Anyway. Nat insists that she's going to come through it fine. She's a brick.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to worry about Louise. But Mr. Parker said he can't let Nat think she knows what's best for her. That's his job. It's not the job of a fellow teenage girl to think for herself. Mm-hmm. He must expose this poor girl to her parents. She'll have to leave school suspended until she tells the girl's name. This is so fucked up.
Yeah.
But she doesn't budge. Respect to Natalie, even though we know why she don't budge.
Exactly.
And Mrs. Garrett storms out through the mystery door. So angry. I'm sorry, he storms out.
He storms out, and then Mrs. Garrett goes after him, saying to Natalie, being like, I'll try to reason with it, like a weird ghost. And then as soon as they're gone, in come Blow, and they're like, okay, we heard everything.
We have a plan.
We have a plan. We know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to call the New York Times, the Washington Post. We're even going to call Geraldo.
Whoa, to be tickled by that mustache. And you can't make a face because you just were pro-mustache and you're on the record.
That's true. I am pro-mustache. But I do have to say that Blair in 1982 being like, I really want a mustache ride from Geraldo.
Yes,
nope.
It is.
No, ma'am.
That's how Louise got herself into trouble in the first place.
Yeah, by getting a mustache ride from Geraldo.
The mustache ride wasn't what did it.
That's what started it.
But so Trudy finally breaks her silence after Nat explains it's not that simple. She's worried that Nat's going to be suspended. So we have back-to-back episodes about the girls leaving the school because of Mr. Parker's awfulness.
Yeah.
But Joe thinks that a lot of kids would look up to Nat for...
Yeah, you'll be a celebrity.
You'll
be a celebrity. And Tootie delivers like my favorite thing, which is like, great. You'll be famous and stupid, which I feel like that is a definition of celebrities.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, I don't know, Bill Nye, the science guy, is famous and smart.
Sure. Okay.
Brad
Pitt
he's the
makes
one.
sculptures. Yeah. Okay.
The one exception. But yes, Joe thinks that a lot of kids would look up to Nat for being kicked out of school.
Yeah.
Blair's mom used to fuck a judge. We've heard about him.
She
before.
might know Geraldo. Let's just work our connections.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, they're gonna call the judge and Geraldo separately. It's not like let's call the judge to get to Geraldo. And then Blow leaves, and the Toots argues about Mr. Parker telling Mr. Parker the truth. Nat would rather leave school.
Yeah.
Tootie tells Nat she's no hero and she should stop trying to take the easy way out. You know what would be the easy way out? Natalie going, all right. I'm Louise. Then, boop, 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 boop. Hey, Mom, hey, Dad. Okay, so I totally made up a fake abortion story just because I had to bring attention to the idea, you know? But, like, they were going to kick me out of school, so I had to say that I had an abortion, and I didn't. Don't worry. I'm obviously still your daughter. I love you. Bye. I'm not going to have sex until season 8 with Snake. Bye. Click. Boom. Problem solved.
Great. Perfect. Actually, really good.
Anyway, I think that would have solved.
We still have like what 15 more minutes of this goddamn show left.
Oh God! So Nat laments. I don't think we have that much. I hope we are in Act 2.
That
Nat
doesn't
laments.
matter, Dominic. It doesn't matter if it's Act 2. There's still like all of this.
Yeah, you get upset coming up. Let me just distract my cat. All right. So Nat laments about how she'll have to take a job, learn a trade in this cold world, but Tootie thinks the truth will set her free or get her fired. Same difference. And then Nat ends the scene with a painfully unfunny joke where she ponders, am I too young to join the Marines? I don't know. I don't know why they left that in. But anyway, we're now up in the bedroom, so that's a nice change of pace. Natalie is packing.
Tootie's yelling, being like, I can't believe that you can't handle little embarrassment. And Natalie says, I can handle embarrassment. I just have trouble with humiliation. And she also has trouble with just sort of synonyms, I imagine, because those are basically the same thing.
Yes, you make a great point there. Nat deflects. She gives Tootie a magazine that has an article about how Sean Cassidy is really an alien. And while I could not find anything that corroborates this, I must say that it immediately sprung to mind the 2005 ABC drama, an alien show called Invasion that Sean Cassidy created. And I think that is proof enough. So Facts of Facts exclusive, Sean Cassidy is an alien.
Wow, they knew that all the way back in 1982.
Yeah.
I was 0.
Apparent.
I was 0 then. So
I was about to be 3 when this episode aired. Anyway, so Tootie tries to argue more, but then Annie enters the room to congratulate Natalie on the article. Of course Annie enters. You know,
who the fuck is this person? Some random new person who comes in conveniently, right, to come and have a heart-to-heart with Natalie. What do we suspect about this person? Who has, I will honestly say, very beautiful feathered hair.
Yes, her hair is great.
Is on point. Really
Let's
good.
talk about the woman behind the hair.
Yes.
So her name is Lisa Lucas. She got her start with a series of holiday-themed movies that were set in the 40s, where she played Addie Mills. First up was The House Without a Christmas Tree, where Addie wants a tree, but her father doesn't because of traumatic events in his past. And then there's...
Did the tree burn the house down?
I believe it did. Then there's The Thanksgiving Treasure of 1973, where Addie invites her father's nemesis to Thanksgiving dinner. Addie's dad seems like a real asshole. Then that's followed by The Easter Promise. So we've had Christmas, Thanksgiving, now Easter, and
Flag Day.
So Easter Promise is where guess who tries to sell the family home? That asshole.
Dad.
Uh-huh. And then finally, thank you very much. And then finally is The King of Hearts, where Addie's
Valentine's Day?
I guess, because it doesn't say, but it's Addie's asshole dad starts wooing a beautician, and Addie feels jealous. So you
mean VD?
Yeah, VD. That all comes together. Yeah, and so she guest stars on Family Ties later on. She's on The Powers of Matthew Starr, which is about a high school student that's actually an alien prince from another world, but not produced by Sean Cassidy. And her last role was the 1993 Robert Downey Jr. movie Heart and Souls.
I don't know anything about that. Does he play a ghost in that?
An angel, I believe.
Robert Downey Jr. was in a number of movies. I don't know, not a number. At least I'm thinking of two. Whatever you just mentioned. And chances are where he plays a young man who is reincarnated with the soul of
Sybil Shepherd.
Sybil Shepherd's husband who died.
My favorite Robert Downey Jr. movie is the one where he goes, "I'm Damon Bradley." I think that's Only You, maybe? Is it Only You? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one with Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, and she saw a fortune teller, and the fortune teller was like, "You're gonna meet the love of your life," and his name's Damon Bradley. And then she's like monologuing in front of a fountain, being like, "A fortune teller told me I'm gonna meet the love of my life, and his name is Damon Bradley." And then he's like, "I'm Damon Bradley," and like he's not. I love that movie.
My favorite Robert Downey Jr. movie is Iron Man 3. No, that's not true. Mine is Soap Dish.
Oh, I like Soap Dish as well.
Yeah. Even though it's problematic for our listeners, but
it's problematic because of the transgender issue. I mean, like, if that was outed even now and today, if it was like, I've been posing as one gender, and then it was revealed on live television that I was another gender, wouldn't you be like, that's a scandal?
Yeah, but I think that it's okay. Well, now we're in down a hole that I didn't really want to go down into, like most people do. But
all I was
I
trying
actually
to
think
say
that it's
was
used as a punchline. I think it's used as a punchline, which is unfortunate. I think that could be a real fun scandal. Had it been handled better and more sensitively. But
I always thought the punchline was that she's from Syosset, Long Island.
Which is where you're from.
That is exactly where I'm from. And so I saw that in the theater. And when she shouted that she's from Syosset, Long Island, the entire theater just screamed like crazy.
So let me just totally random, but also on the same topic of local movie audiences having a strong reaction. In the tri-state area. Have you seen the movie with Nicole Kidman called The Others?
Yes.
Okay, so my husband, who is from New Jersey, went to go see that in New Jersey. And it's about ghosts. And it is set like right at the tail end of the Second World War. And on the screen, it just says Jersey, 1945. And he was in a movie theater in New Jersey, and everyone was just like, what, New Jersey, what? Yeah! And it's like, actually, those are those tiny little Channel Islands between England and France. But still, the joy was there. So
yeah,
that's
as long as the joy is there, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
So, all right. So back to the bedroom. Annie is telling Natalie, the article was so well written, and Natalie glows. Tootie tosses her magazine and walks out enraged. Annie
I mean, I would too. I mean, here's the thing. Natalie was already being like, I gotta leave. I'm packing up already. Like, things are bad. Things are really grim. It's horrible. I'm really upset about this. And Tootie's being like, just fucking tell the truth. And then in comes Annie and blows some smoke up her ass, up Natalie's ass, being like, it was so well written. Immediately, Natalie is the worst version of herself. She's like, oh my God, I know, it was so good. I can't believe it. You really liked it? Oh my God.
Nobody
I thought
Natalie
it was
any attention.
but I don't know. Oh my God, thank you. I deserve a Pulitzer.
Nobody is nice to Natalie ever, and she's getting some acclaim, and she's also very, very low. She knows she's leaving school, so let her hold on to this one moment. Anyway, Annie knows about the suspension. She finds Natalie's actions so noble. She's walking away from the only life she knows. Very dramatic. Annie asks if she ever thought it would cost this much, which is pretty callous. And Natalie barks
No,
at her.
and Natalie's like, no, I actually didn't. Now that you say it like that, you dumb cunt.
Natalie thinks her parents...
Is that the actual line reading? Because I thought that's what I wrote down. So.
Yeah, that's what she says. Okay. She definitely calls her a dumb cunt. So Natalie thinks her parents will hand her a samurai sword and tell her to kill herself, because that is a weird obsession among the Facts of Life writing staff. This is our third seppuku reference in 4 seasons.
I mean, it's like at least half a dozen per season.
They must have like a poster in their writer's room or something that's just like, and they're like, inspiration. Anyway, Annie asks Nat not to crumble. She's counting on her. Fuck you, Annie. If you really think that Nat wrote this article about you and is getting suspended on your behalf, at the very least, you should say thank you, not don't crumble. Bitch. Anyway, it takes Natalie way too long to realize that Annie is Louise, which I understand why, because, you know, you write a fictional article and then somebody comes and is like, you wrote about me, and then it's not the first thing you would expect. No. But Annie isn't sure how it happened either. Neither of them know how it happened. She wants to know how Nat found out. Annie says if Nat spills, Mr. Parker will tell her parents. And Nat's like, maybe they'll understand. So your brain's already working overtime and you're planning on outing Annie to save your butt.
Exactly. And then Annie's like, you don't know my parents. And then Annie tells
very weird story.
The world's saddest, most depressing, repellent, perverted story about how once when she was learning to drive, she dinged her dad's station wagon, and when he looks at the tiny little scratch of paint on his station wagon, he flinches. And then like she pauses and it's like, and then she's like, so imagine what he'll do when he thinks about my broken hymen. And the audience laughs. They laugh.
Why didn't her dad just get the fucking thing fixed? Is it just to psychologically torment his daughter?
Yeah.
All right, then she's right. Her parents suck. Annie tries to explain how her parents are assholes. She confuses me. She says she's angry when she's reading the article, but then it was comforting because someone else knew how she was feeling, but then the article is about her in her head, so that doesn't really quite track. Annie says she has no right to ask Natalie not to tell, but she's asking. She believes Natalie wrote an unauthorized article about her most private moment. She has every right to ask Nat to shut her fucking mouth.
Yeah.
But also, why is she even asking if Nat is packing? It's pretty clear that Natalie made her choice not to reveal her source. So what the fuck is this scene?
It's just exposition. The other thing is that she should basically say, to be honest, Annie thinks that Natalie wrote a truthful article about her. And so, and she was like, she praises her for how accurate and truthful it was, but also how angry it made her because she felt exposed, right?
Mm-hmm.
She should be like, how the fuck did you find out about this?
She asks, but then they just blow right past it, like, one of the mysteries of life.
Yeah.
And so Annie leaves Natalie to do her extended pensive look to the side of the camera, the way that they end all scenes this season.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the lounge where Joe is trying damn hard to get Geraldo. I'm reading my notes.
That's how my grandmother referred to Geraldo, who was my grandmother's favorite television journalist.
She would hear his name, right? I mean,
my grandmother is from Latvia, and so English is a second language. So she'd be like, Gerald's my favorite, Gerald's.
Well,
so, you're close.
So
you're close.
I can't say anything.
My grandmother.
Just busted out of me. Anyway, so Joe's trying damn hard to get Geraldo on the phone. Apparently he's out to lunch with the Mafia hitman, which seems like a lot of information to give a rando who's calling.
A teenager who's calling, yeah.
Blair mocks Joe for even trying. And then they head into the cafeteria where Natalie is looking for Mrs. Garrett.
Yeah.
Blair's latest brilliant idea is for Natalie to tell her who the girl is. She'll slip it to Mr. Parker, and everybody will be so pleased.
Yeah, because she's a garbage person. Like, that's a terrible thing to even say.
You were a Blair defender just a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, listen, here's how it works on this show. Everyone goes up and down. The only person who is at the bottom is Tootie.
Yes, I sadly agree with you there. Jo is rarely at the bottom. She's at the bottom in terms of joke delivery.
Yeah.
But as a person, she's often on the right side of history, unless she's like a silent bystander, which will happen every now and then. So they head into the cafeteria where Natalie's looking for Mrs. G. Jo loves how it's eating up Blair that she doesn't know who had this abortion. But Blair says she's only doing this for Natalie's well-being. And then Jo makes some kind of weird joke about Blair meeting Mr. Parker in an alley and slipping it to him. Hey-o.
Yeah, but also it's sort of like, here's the thing. As soon as you hear, this is an episode about abortion. As soon as I hear, oh, you're going to meet him in a dark alley, it's like a dog whistle of like, oh, abortion terms, like, oh, back alley abortions, like, oh, it's not safe and whatever. And it's just like, I don't need to hear that. Also, like, this isn't about that. This episode could have been about literally anything else. It could have been about shoplifting, outing a shoplifter.
We have an episode literally called Shoplifting. So
okay, great. I'm looking forward to that.
No, anyway. We've already had it. Remember, the girls buy the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. And they send Mrs. Garrett to jail. Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett comes in after Blow leave, and Natalie's just like, in a tizzy, and she's like, "Where the fuck have you been, Mrs. Garrett?"
Getting that
and
mad
Mrs.
Garrett's
like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just getting my cars fixed. It was just one of those madcap spur of the moment lube jobs." Which honestly, to all of our listeners, you should just take that out and use it as your ringtone.
That is our gift to you.
I literally wrote down after that, ugh, this show.
Yeah. Nat's pondering whether or not to out Annie. She found her ticket out. Mr. Parker won't budge. She needs to know who Louise is. A year after this, the Human League will record a song called Louise. It's quite beautiful. I wonder if it was inspired by this episode.
No, it wasn't. Nothing was inspired by this.
This podcast was. Natalie tells Mrs. Garrett that she made up Louise, but then she found a Louise, and now she wants to fuck over said Louise so she can stay at school.
So she goes. So Natalie says, I lied about Louise. I made her up. And then Mrs. Garrett says in her most annoying, dramatic, serious, condemning voice, "Natalie, that's not reporting. That's fiction."
Apologies to our listeners.
Cool. And then she's like, well, you know what? Okay, so then Mrs. Garrett, like, the wheels are spinning, and she's like, okay, well, maybe just if you explain it to Mr. Parker, you just have to tell him that there was no Louise. And then Natalie, using her babyest of baby voices, is like, well, actually, I would, except there is a Louise.
This is one of the cases of where they say something happens in an episode, and then everybody tells everybody for 10 minutes, and then something else happens, and then everybody tells everybody about it for 10 more minutes, and then your show's done.
And then Mrs. Garrett's like, wait a minute. What? What? And then it's more laughter. As you said, like, the audience doesn't know what to do. Like, it's as though they just, like, pumped the audience with, like, poppers or something, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, no. So she doesn't know that it knows that they know that they know. That's hilarious.
Nat says if she gives Parker the name, she's off the hook, and Mrs. Garrett's eyes roll around her big orange head, and she goes, "Are you Natalie?"
Yeah.
You lied, Natalie. She is. She is off the hook, because even Annie believes she's Louise and is not concerned about finding out how Natalie got this information. So Mrs. G calls Natalie a dirty, disgusting liar. Natalie basically agrees, and Mr. Parker enters, wanting to talk with Natalie. Mrs. Garrett wants to leave them alone, but Natalie waves at her and says she has to stay, so she very slowly gathers her shit.
Yeah.
Dad says she has 24 hours. Mrs. Garrett's like, you did. You said 24 hours. Some good
that
acting
was the
there.
deal we made. That was the deal we made. That's the most important thing that we have to deal with right now.
Yes, and Mr. Parker says it's not Dodge City, which I guess is a Wyatt Earp reference. Okay, yeah. I'm sure the kids love it. He says he's not going to suspend her. His wife says he needs to respect that it's a matter of principle, and he's going to find out who Louise is with or without her help. He's going to interview students. He's going to look at absentee records. He's certain he's going to find her, to which I say, good. You're off the hook, Natalie. Don't confess. But she does. She explains the situation for the umpteenth time, but he finds this hard to believe. The article is very believable, and the situation that you have just laid forth, where you made up a story that's identical to somebody's situation here in Peekskill, that's less believable.
No, I know. And then like Natalie, again, because she's a fucking compliment, like Hoover, she's like, what can I say? I'm a dynamite writer.
Natalie
and that
agrees.
Another laugh.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Garrett agrees. She is a dynamite writer. She's going to write a full retraction with her skills.
Yeah, and then it's like, and Mr. Parker's like, yeah, that's not enough. You got to do that, and you have to resign. You're not allowed to be an editor. You're not allowed to do this anymore because clearly she has no journalistic ethics to begin with. So
yeah, I mean, this is a perfectly fine reason to expel her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not the fact that she wrote an article about an abortion, but this. But she gets off kind of easy. She's no longer the editor of the school paper, but as you will see, journalism is in her blood, and it really doesn't go away. So it's not too big of an issue.
So again, and then as I've pointed out many times, like obviously every single fucking episode of these things, it's like everyone learns a goddamn fact of life, and then there's no consequences. So next week or the week after or whatever, is Natalie back at working at the newspaper? She back being a cub reporter?
They don't really talk about it for a bit.
Is this abortion ever mentioned again?
Abortion.
Do we ever see Annie again?
Yeah. Well, yes. There is talk of Blair's mother getting an abortion.
That whore. Yeah, she is a whore.
Well. Some people want her to, and some people don't.
Okay.
But that's in the future. But yeah. So Mr. Parker is thrilled. He gets to call all the parents, break all the good news, call the whole school. Natalie's a liar. Hindsight is 20/20 for Mr. Parker, and 20/20 is a bitch. He knew this was the case. Call it a sixth sense. The man is a genius. He knows this school, and he knows these girls, and no one would ever get an abortion at Eastland.
Something like this could never happen here.
And then like 7 people in the audience laugh.
And applaud. And while Mrs. Garrett and Natalie like hold hands and look nervous, but also sort of like, I mean, it does happen here. It does. It does happen here.
That was to me as a little kid when I watched it, I was like, ooh. But now I'm a big kid, and I'm still like, ooh. Yes, and so now we go from abortion to earwax. Are you excited?
Super excited. I mean, like, here's the thing: is that it's, as I've always said, like, especially about comedy, is that it's like, if you want to make really good comedy, you want to have, you want to raise the stakes. So, the stakes couldn't be higher if we're going to go from abortion to earwax.
Yeah. And I have an earwax story. I might as well tell it now.
Yeah, please.
Because it happened earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I privately, I've been going on a lot of jogs lately, and
you're private jogging.
No, I'm regular. I am only going by myself, but I've been privately worried that I might be losing my hearing in one of my ears because my earbuds, one of them was much quieter than the other, but like it sounds normal, like, but maybe I'm used to it. Just when I have the earbuds in, I can really tell. And I've been jogging for like weeks and been worried about this and been like, oh, I should probably get checked out for COVID. I don't want to go to a doctor. Anyway, this morning I had this great idea. What if I switch the earbuds and see what happens? All of a sudden, this ear's super loud. And I'm like, it's the earbuds. It's not me. So I Google, one of my earbuds is way quieter than the other. How do I figure I'm going to go into my phone and raise the volume on lefty or something like that. And all of the articles I read said, suck it.
I mean,
suck your earbud.
Most articles you read usually say suck it, don't they?
No, this was a real shock to me. They just said, suck your earbud. I know it's gross, but suck your earbud and little bits of wax will come out of the holes.
And did that work?
Yes. I just did a light suck. I didn't taste any
earwax. A light suck.
I just
and as I said, and as I mentioned, my husband's birthday is tomorrow, so he's probably going to get a light suck.
Oh, just a light one? I would go all
in. A hard suck?
Yeah, why not? But yes. So I'll tell you a little gross story about myself. I did brush my teeth immediately thereafter. I used mouthwash as well. But yeah, so I'm not going deaf, and my earbuds work great.
Okay. I probably would not have sucked on my earbud. I probably would have just bought a new pair of earbuds.
Well, they're the AirPods. It's a lot of money for just
That's true, they are. Yeah,
I literally just went, and then they worked perfectly, and I was so thrilled.
Could you have used a Q-tip?
No, because I flipped them inside out, and you didn't see any wax.
Ah.
So I was really in there.
It was compounded. Wow. Yeah, so, Dominik, we should save this for our other podcast, Earwax Hour.
That's next week.
That's true.
This is just a little primer.
Oh, yeah. So sweet. Everyone who's listening, here's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was the abortion one. We didn't have much stuff to cover. So we'll fill in a little earwax. All right. Well, Britt, please wish your lovely husband a happy birthday.
I will.
How many years young is he this year?
He's, I decided to, he's 17. I married an infant because I like the younger men.
He looks great.
He does look great.
Not a day over 12.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I like to actually put the infant filter on the photos that I take of him so that I can see him as truly a baby.
If we have any audience left at this point, I'll be shocked. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody who's listened, and we'll see you next week with a real controversial episode about wax. We love you. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't make me feel like I just sounded like Jimmy Fallon. I'm glad I mistaked his name. Anyway, let me get out of here before I say anything else stupid. Bye.
Bye.